Hello, my name is Lanie, and welcome to my Hivecast series, Movie Mania. In this, I will go through movie history, exploring and explaining genres, events, and details about many famous movies. Today's edition is Horror History, 1920 to 1979. Since the beginning of time, humans have been afraid. Whether it was the fear of death, monsters, or something irrational, it has been prominent for ages. The film industry has exploited these fears ever since the start. Today, I will discuss a few of the defining horror classics from 1920 to 1979. While many films before could be considered the first horror movie, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari truly exemplifies that title. Originally released in 1920, this German classic tells the tale of a hypnotist that uses a sleepwalker to commit terrible crimes, including murder. Even in silence, this movie is still an important watch for horror buffs. It helped create many of the popular horror film tropes, including plot twist. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari should be a start of your journey into horror. Even though the silent classic is a ripoff of the novel Dracula, NOSFERATU creates a terrifying tale. The movie, released in 1922, follows the wicked Count Orlok and his reign of terror over his town. Considered to be one of the first vampire movies, NOSFERATU is important to the genre, but the movie does have its downsides. This German film has been noted for many anti-Semitic themes, such as the appearance of Count Orlok. Even with these terrible themes, the movie has influenced every adaptation of the vampire since. And if silent movies are not your thing, there is a 1979 remake. Vampires seem like a common and overused monster today, but one film was able to revolutionize the creature and the horror genre. The 1931 film Dracula is considered one of the most important movies in history. In this film, the title character travels to England while feasting on the blood and enslaving his victims. Bela Lugosi's portrayal of Dracula has created the defining characteristics of all vampires since. Due to the success of this film, Universal Studios went on to create and develop more monsters. The next Universal monster helped popularize one of the most famous characters of all time. Frankenstein, the 1931 classic, is considered to be a defining horror film. It is the story of a scientist obsessed with reanimation and his quest to create life. The creature he creates causes unintentional terror on the village. This film creates one of the most iconic characters in cinema. The movie version of Frankenstein's creature, while completely different from the novel, has remained a staple of pop culture. The creature, played by Boris Karloff, has created the defining characteristics of the character. The film is also important because it humanizes something people consider a monster. With its many sequels and remakes, Frankenstein has held its place in history. On this roadmap of horror, we take you to the carnival sideshows. The 1932 film Freaks is a cult classic horror movie that follows a trapeze artist attempting to seduce a dwarf for his inheritance. This movie is mainly recognized for its portrayals of disabilities such as dwarfism, conjoined twins, and much more. The movie used actual people with these conditions, which was uncommon for the time. The film does have suspenseful and terrifying moments, including the famous "One of Us" scene, and the ending. It is an important watch to understand the 1930s. Skull Island is the next stop, home to the star of the 1933 classic King Kong. This film tells the story of Kong, including his time on the island and his reign of terror over New York City. King Kong has been one of the most important monsters created for the screen. The special effects cues like stop motion and matte painting were revolutionary at the time. Iconic scenes and characters create an essential watch for horror and movie fans alike. The only direct sequel on this list is the 1935 film Bride of Frankenstein. One might assume that the bride is the main focus of the film, but she has less than 5 minutes of screen time. The real focus is on the creature. After the events of the previous film, Dr. Frankenstein is forced to create a mate for the creature, who just so happens to be on the run. This movie gives the creature even more humanity than the first in the series. He even learns to talk. Many people find themselves supporting the creature rather than the people. The iconic portrayals of the creature and his bride are essential figures in the modern world. Once you watch this, your views on horror will be changed for the better. Lon Chaney Jr. is an actor that many people may be unfamiliar with, but he embodied a very important horror icon. He plays the title character in 1941's The Wolfman. The story follows Lawrence, a man who was bitten by a werewolf. He soon transforms into one, causing terror over the land. While not the first werewolf movie, The Wolfman popularized these creatures and became the inspiration for many to come. The makeup and effects used in this film were very important in the movie industry. Chaney continued to play this influential movie character in its many sequels. In 1954, this next film made viewers afraid of the water. Creature from the Black Lagoon was an American movie that follows a group of scientists studying in the Amazon and their encounters with the Gill Man. This movie used some pioneering underwater technology, and it has a great impact on pop culture. The Gill Man remains one of the most popular Universal monsters. This movie helped popularize nuclear monster movies, and it also started a trend of bug monsters. The film Them from 1954 tells the story of giant monster-sized ants that attempt to conquer the US. The giant ants are one of the craziest villains in film history. This movie was very important in science fiction and horror genres. It was even nominated for an Oscar due to its special effects. It is an important watch for lovers of 50s movies. The first and only Japanese film on this list is none other than the 1954 classic Godzilla. After nuclear testing underwater, a giant monster appears and terrorizes Tokyo. Released almost 10 years after the end of World War II, this movie plays on the fear of nuclear holocaust, especially after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The movie also spawned over 38 sequels and spin-offs. Godzilla truly deserves the title of King of the Monsters. Alfred Hitchcock is known for his thriller and horror movies, but the 1960s Psycho seems to be his masterpiece. The movie follows Marion Crane's disappearance and the involvement of a creepy Norman Bates. Many details from this movie are staples of popular horror, including the film score, shower scene, and the wild conclusion. It is even considered to be the first slasher movie. Psycho truly changed the horror genre. It became sophisticated while remaining nightmarish. After watching this film, many never look at a shower the same way. This next classic sends viewers into an entanglement between the paranormal truth and reality. The 1963 film The Haunting involves 5 people investigating a supposedly haunted house. One of the guests has past paranormal experiences, which leads to terror and fright for all of the guests. The setting and cameras used in this film create a terrifying atmosphere that is upheld by stellar performances of the actors. If you wish for a different adaptation, the show Haunting of Hill House is based on the same novel. But give The Haunting a chance, it does not disappoint. Some mothers believe their pregnancy was a wonderful time, but this title character would completely disagree. Rosemary's Baby, released in 1968, follows a newlywed and pregnant couple whose neighbors may be in a satanic cult that plans to use their unborn baby for rituals. With a dark premise and graphic scenes, this movie feels quite modern. It also helped popularize demonic horror films. While not for the faint of heart, this movie does provide its audience with shock and terror. Zombie films have been around for ages, but the 1968 film Night of the Living Dead made these creatures into the icons of horror we know today. The movie tells the tale of a group of people trapped inside a house that is surrounded by nightmarish zombies. It created many traits for zombies, including cannibalism. While the main focus of the movie was the zombies, it also brings up topics of race relations during the 1960s. It is a great watch for any zombie lover. The power of Christ compels you to watch the 1973 classic The Exorcist. This movie follows young Reagan McNeil, a girl that has been possessed by a demon, and the attempts of two Catholic priests that try to free her. This movie is considered to be one of the most important films of all time. It was even the first horror movie nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. The iconic scenes, dialogue, atmosphere, and characters create a horror movie that will stand the test of time many years from now. Leatherface is a movie icon today, and his first appearance was in the 1974 film The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The movie tells the tale of 5 teens and their encounter with one of the worst families in movie history. Its gore and scares were shocking for the time. It reinvented horror and boosted the slasher genre in the popular culture. With its many sequels and remakes, the original film still continues to remain important to horror history. This next film opens with the iconic John Williams score, and then a sudden kill. Based on the classic novel by Peter Benchley, the 1975 movie Jaws is considered to be the first summer blockbuster for a reason. The film tells a tale of a beach town that is terrorized by a killer great white shark and the people attempting to stop it. After its release, Jaws became the highest grossing movie at the North American box office. Even though it caused a mass fear and murder of sharks, this movie still remains the iconic horror film that mesmerized many. Some say that kids are angels, but this movie displays the opposite. The Omen, released in 1976, is about the Thorne family. After the death of his newborn son, Robert Thorne replaces his child with another who just may be the Antichrist. This tale fascinated enough viewers that a franchise was spawned due to its popularity. But the most horrifying detail may not be an element of the movie itself. The movie is known for an apparent curse that haunted the sets and actors. But that is a topic for another Hivecast. Stephen King is known as a master of horror. His first novel was made into the 1976 film Carrie. The movie follows Carrie White as she is bullied by her schoolmates and religious mother. That is, until she discovers her own powers. The movie is mainly known for the iconic prom scene in which Carrie gets her revenge. This film also caused greater interest in King's work. He would write novels that would inspire horror classics like The Shining, Pet Sematary, Cujo, and Christine. Michael Myers is a villain that is important to horror history, and he was introduced in the 1978 film Halloween. This movie tells the story of Myers, his killing spree, and Laurie Strode's attempt to survive. This movie is considered an essential slasher for many, and it inspired many to come, like Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street. With its many sequels, Halloween is a staple of horror. In space, no one can hear you scream. That is the tagline of the 1979 classic Alien. This tale follows the crew of a spaceship as they are attacked by a deadly alien. The xenomorph alien remains one of the scariest villains in horror. While many of the first reviews were critical, the movie changed science fiction horror. It also influenced movies such as Spaceballs, Dead Space, and Alien's many sequels. It was a fresh update to the horror genre. This concludes Horror History 1920 to 1979. I hope you enjoyed this series, and if you did, like and subscribe. If you have any questions or ideas for future topics, comment down below. Thanks for watching!